College is confusing.
Pretty cool.
A roller coaster.
Swag and a movie.
College is gonna be the best 5 years of my life.
On one hand, you know it's coming, and you've been excited about it for a long time.
But you get there and you realize it is way different than you thought it would be.
You're in a new city, and sometimes even a new state.
You don't have money, you don't have a house, sometimes you don't have a car.
You don't have a kitchen to make food, and you don't really have friends or family there.
You're trying to manage your time.
Eat right, sleep right.
There's rushing and bid week and all sorts of parties.
It's your big step into adult life, and figuring it out can be really difficult.
Buckham. Scratching cats.
Go Frogs.
War Eagle. Hey! Boomer!
Welcome to College 101.
Hi, my name is Luke Stunnaboy Newbern. I go to Blinn College, Buckham, and I want to talk today about what it looked like for me finding community in a new environment. So I had a really great friendships just over the past summer, like my senior year. We built a lot of good bonds, like genuine relationships where we all had the common bond of loving Jesus Christ. We'd go to church together after playing volleyball till 3 a.m. the night before. So it's like the people that you were around, you could tell, like they loved the Lord, like they were all striving towards the same goal, and that just was super encouraging. So when I got to college, the first couple weeks of me being there, I expected the relationships that I'd had previously to kind of come naturally to me and just fall into my hands, and they didn't. It was a couple weeks of where I just didn't really have any motivation to find a church home or seek out the community that I needed to seek out. Going out and meeting new people to me seemed overwhelming, and I didn't want to move on from the relationships that I had. Like I was going home every weekend, and I would just stay in my apartment. I would call my friends like every day. Like you're supposed to meet people in college, you're supposed to have friends in college, and I was not doing that. I was feeling anxious about it. I came to a realization when I called one of my close friends, and he talked me through what my relationship was looking like. I was staying passive in my walk with the Lord, rather than being proactive and seeking out community that wasn't just gonna fall into my arms. A verse that really helped me realize my passivity in the Lord was Proverbs 27:17. It says, just as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another.
Hi, I'm Callie Todd. I go to Auburn University. Something that no one really told me about college is how lonely it is. You've been with the same group of people for basically your whole life. You have your friends, they know who you are. You've built this reputation for yourself of like, if you play any sports, like your intelligence level, I guess. And all of that is just kind of thrown out the window when you get to college. You don't have anything that anyone knows you by except what you tell them. So the first time that I kind of realized how isolating college was during the second week of school. So the first 2 weeks of school with my sorority, we had this thing called 14 Days with Chi-O, where every single day we had an event with our pledge class to just kind of get to know people, make friends. And that all ended with an event called Camp Chi-O, where we went to a YMCA camp and just kind of hung out and celebrated the end of the 2 weeks. So we're going to a camp. I'm so excited. I'm a huge camp girl, so I get on my American cowboy hat. We get assigned our cars, and it turns out that the 4 other girls in my car with me, they're all from Birmingham, Alabama, which is where about half the people you'll meet at Auburn are from. And so I'm super excited, and these girls are talking, and they're all just kind of like bonding over things that happened in high school. And it's stuff that I can't really relate to. It's stuff kind of specific to the Birmingham area. And I just kind of feel isolated from that. And this is the first time that I had ever felt isolated for not being from Alabama. I mean, Texas is the best state, but so we got there. We were like one of the last cars to get there. I was already just kind of feeling left out from the car ride. My spirits were down. And we get there, and there's 95 girls in this one small building, and everyone's like trying to find their beds and like find a place for their stuff, and then people are talking to their friends. And it's just very overwhelming. And then the upperclassmen are like, okay, it's time for dinner, like go to the dining hall. And I'm just scatterbrained, just super overwhelmed. And I just start feeling like anxious about how the rest of the time is gonna go. I feel like I can't breathe. I'm just so tense and overwhelmed and anxious. And I look over and I see our president and our chaplain sitting over to the side. As soon as I said the words, "Can I talk to y'all?" my voice broke and I started sobbing. And so here I am. I'm in the arms of these two strangers that are seniors that I have no idea who they are. And I'm just in hysterics, just explaining to them how I don't know anybody and I feel alone. And they're sitting here just reassuring me that I'm not alone in my loneliness, that everyone else is feeling the same way, which I had never really heard that before. And so that made me feel a little bit better. So my whole life I've been told college is the best 4 years of your life. This is where you're gonna find your bridesmaids. And so I've put so much pressure on myself to like find my best friends ever, when in reality it's the second week of school and there's no reason for me to have those best friends. So that was about the first time that I realized what a huge part of my life community was back home, what a great community I had, and how isolating it was to not have that. And I also realized that it was going to be a long process to find that community at Auburn. It wasn't just going to come to me.
One of the things I see young people struggle with the most once they get to college is experiencing community. On the outside, it really seems like college is going to be this fun, exciting, it's just full of all sorts of events and social clubs and living in a dorm with tons of people your own age. We got big football games and fraternities and sororities. Like, how could that not be an absolute blast, right? What's remarkable, though, is the amount of people that get to college and they feel isolated, they feel bored, they feel lonely. In fact, a majority of young people actually have a hard time fitting in and finding a sense of belonging in college. But why is that? When you're in high school, okay, most of you will have spent the past 18 years making friends through school, through sports teams, church. You've just grown up with community all around you, right? You have friends you're close with. You've got places you go to regularly to hang out with people. You know what to expect. It's something you've been living in a long time. The problem is that once you get to college, all of that goes away. You go from being someone who is known and who fits into a certain social sphere to just being a small fish in a big pond. You go from a system of life that's really familiar to you to something that is now unfamiliar, just like that. And probably the most common thing I hear people say when it comes to community is, I just haven't found a great group of friends yet. I just haven't found the right church. I just haven't found my people. And while I can appreciate the difficulties that I see young people experience in their transition from high school to college, there's a fundamental problem with the way most of us approach community. We think about community as something that we're going to find. We think about community as something that we're going to walk into or stumble upon. Most of us have this idyllic picture of a perfect community experience in our minds. And we have this notion that somehow we're just going to magically walk into it once we get to college, right? And more than that, the consumer and information age has also had a significant impact on the way we view community. We've gotten so used to getting what we want immediately, right? Amazon, any object in the world delivered to your doorstep tomorrow, okay? Netflix, any movie or show you want to watch on your TV. Tinder, you want a relationship? Swipe right. We have the world at our fingertips. And what happens with this consumer mindset is that we start looking at community and simply looking for the things that we can get out of it. Does that sound fun for me? How does this benefit me? Is this something that gives me what I want? All of this leads people to those feelings of emptiness and of loneliness because we end up looking for community and not finding it. And then the community we do find isn't the ideal community that we want, so we retract. And our search for community never leads us to the perfect scenario we're looking for. We end up going nowhere, just as empty as when we started. Hebrews 10:24-25 says this, "And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near." The big thing I want you guys to walk away with tonight is this. You don't find community by looking for it. You create community by building it on Christ. Community isn't just something that you're going to happen upon. It's something that we build intentionally. It's something that we cultivate, something that takes hard work to form. Biblical community requires intentional effort. It involves meeting together, breaking bread, devoting yourselves to the scriptures, prayer, worship. All of these are active words. It doesn't happen passively. And so we've got to be intentional about building our community. The second part of that is that when we build community, you've got to remember that community isn't always about your specific desires and preferences. People are messy. People rub each other wrong. There is no picture perfect community that exists. They all have their own flaws, and because we're all sinners. Yet in spite of those flaws, God uses community to mold us and to shape us. And so when it comes to choosing, let's say, a church or a friend group or a small group, be careful not to spend too much time shopping around for the most attractive thing. If you get lost in satisfying all of your individual preferences, you're going to feel empty. Choose to build your community in Christ and stay faithful to it. And so tonight, as you go into your small groups, we're going to take a look at some of the passages in scriptures that illustrate what it looks like to build community, and furthermore, what the qualities are of biblical community. And as you guys read through and discuss together, I want you to pay close attention and identify some of the action-oriented aspects of building community. It's not just something that happens or something that we simply find. It is something that we work for.